Greetings, curious acolytes of the galaxy, and welcome back to the archives. Out of all of the weapons that the dark side has to offer, one of the finest tools in any Sith's kit is their underappreciated art of deception. It wasn't vast displays of power that Darth Bane saw in his quest to become the perfect Sith, but rather his focus on one of the most quintessential truths of their order, which is that cunning, guile, and manipulation are the true ways to the dark side. The Sith have committed many atrocities over the years to prove this to be true, one of which being how they expertly twisted what they call lesser beings into doing their favor. These lesser beings that we hear tale of today are the Dark Jedi. We did a video some time ago about what the Sith actually thought of the Dark Jedi, which was revealed anywhere on the spectrum of annoyance to outright hatred of them. What we mentioned though is that there were some Sith that actually made great use of the Dark Jedi as minions and tools for their greater purposes, while leading them along with a string of lies and false promises. So today, we wanted to dive into that specifically and use some of the references, then really analyze how the Sith actually managed to manipulate the Dark Jedi so effectively, and how their plans to do so were absolutely brilliant. So, fortify your minds, acolytes, because this holocron is now opening. Before we delve in, however, in lieu of the holidays, there are big sales on the Star Wars merch page, where you can get Mando hoodies and much more half off, and if you use code WAVE at checkout, you'll get an additional 15% off your entire order. So if you want to pick up something for yourself or a loved one for the holidays, now may be the time. Now, let us begin and open up this holocron. The first instance that immediately comes to mind when manipulating the Dark Jedi is how Count Dooku used his own apprentices in Ventress and Savage Opress. Though Dooku trained them as Sith assassins, he never really intended them to serve a purpose beyond the Clone Wars and possibly helping him to overthrow Sidious. Dooku made sure to placate to each of their personalities and prey on their specific weaknesses, a cruel yet an effective tactic. He was far more brutish with Savage, since the Night Brother seemed to be more beast than man, forcing him to be subservient to him by emphasizing the beastly nature that lied within him and cultivated that beastly nature, driving him to be more brutal than ever. Maul would later lean more into Savage's humanity, but Dooku enjoyed keeping him in his place with cruel, gratuitous punishments, and hardly giving him any sort of praise for any accomplishments. With Savage, Dooku let him know that he was replaceable, but with Ventress, he chose to instead emphasize her value to him and give her rewards for good work and harsh punishments for bad work. This kept her in more or less of a slavery position. Because of this, Dooku could keep her under his thumb since he knew that was exactly where he found her in the first place. She did indeed prove herself useful, and he enjoyed having her carry out his wills as he deemed them necessary. That is one of the reasons that it completely blindsided Ventress whenever Dooku betrayed her and ultimately left her for dead. Now, let's take a look at another example, this time with Darth Sidious and Mara Jade. Originally, Mara Jade was the Emperor's hand, an elite assassin trained in the ways of the dark side, specifically for the use of combat, as well as subterfuge at the request of the Emperor. She was as close to the Emperor as Vader was, or at least she thought she was. The Emperor made it a point to pamper Mara Jade, giving her luxurious living situations as well as fine clothes. He indulged her with lavish gifts and made sure to make her believe that she was the apple of his eye. Unbeknownst to Mara Jade though, she was one of many of the Emperor's hands. Mara Jade thought of herself as an important person in the Empire that could rival Vader's authority, and the Emperor even allowed this to happen time to time, placating to her ideas of having a greater position than she truly held. He even allowed her to be present whenever he would discipline Vader, as she would recall to Luke many years later. Darth Vader hated this, but he knew it was all part of his master's scheme. Mara Jade was nothing more to the Emperor than a tool to be used when he desired, and then cast aside. Her perceived importance was nothing more than a facade, a lie. A dozen other girls just like Mara were serving as the Emperor's hand, each of them unaware of the other. It is assumed that all of them were Force sensitive, though we do not know this for a fact. However, we do know that Mara Jade in truth was Sidious's favorite due to her high success rate. In this instance, Sidious expertly manipulates her into being fully and hopelessly loyal to him, since she believes that she is something very special to him. One thing that Palpatine was not only a natural at, but a master of, was manipulation. He knew exactly who to placate to, who to be cruel with, and who to spoil. He would even yo-yo them back and forth constantly, stringing them along with his approval so that it was the only thing they ever sought from him. With this method, Sidious had a myriad of Dark Jedi wrapped around his gnarled finger. Other Sith Lords took similar approaches to their Dark Jedi. though many not as intimate as Sidious. Going back a few thousand years, as we love to do on the channel, to the days of the old Sith, Exar Kun is the first man to come to mind who had an iron grip on his Dark Jedi followers. Exar Kun himself was a Sith Lord, trained by the spirits of Freed and Nad, as well as Naga Sadow. When he returned to the Jedi Temple on Ossus, he took with him a great many of the Jedi that were there by rallying them with stories of grandeur and tales of the powers of the dark side. Exar Kun preferred to manipulate his subjects into darkness at first by garnering their admiration, then using Sith sorcery and ancient Sith artifacts to completely dominate their minds. Our good friend Exar Kun definitely took a more direct and practical approach when using Dark Jedi, which was much more assuredly his style. Kun was a battering ram kind of a Sith, who used his brute force to get what he wanted in any situation and didn't really do a whole lot of what you might call clever subterfuge. He liked to outright assert his will over others using his superior power, and if he chose not to, then he would just cut them down and move on. This approach secured Exar Kun a vast amount of Dark Jedi forces, men and women who weren't really trained that well in the dark side, but had enough Jedi training to serve the purpose that he needed them to. Moving on, Malak, Revan, and Nihilus also bolstered their ranks by making excellent use of Dark Jedi. The Dark Jedi that served under Revan and Malak appeared to have been manipulated with the idea that somehow they would eventually gain favor with their Dark Lords and become their new Sith apprentices. Only one of these Dark Jedi actually achieved this though, which would be Darth Bandon, though Bandon's training under Malak would be tragically short-lived when he was cut down by the reformed Revan. The Dark Jedi of this era were often devoted out of a sense of purpose, hoping to glean more dark side knowledge over their Sith overlords, and ultimately hoping to become Sith themselves. They were played for fools and used mostly as assassins and enforcers during the Jedi Civil War. Being a Dark Jedi in service to a Sith was not a good existence, and unfortunately for most Dark Jedi, this memo was not something that was very well known, though among the Sith it was a popular practice to make use of these pretenders if the Sith Lord in question could actually stomach the process of working with a Dark Jedi. Ironically, it was a very unpleasant experience for both parties, especially during the Old Republic era. However, it seems to me that Sidious and Dooku had it figured out extremely well when they were only manipulating a few at a time rather than a full army of Dark Jedi. During the Rule of Two era, the Sith of this time would actually make excellent use of Dark Jedi in many different ways. Rather than working directly with them, they would typically use Dark Jedi as distractions to the Jedi Order to throw the Lightsiders off of their scent. We plan to release a video all about this specifically, and exactly how the Rule of Two Sith evaded the Jedi and being discovered for so long, so be sure to open up another holocron much later for that. But anyway, my friends, what do you think of this trend? Do you think it was effective, or even wise of the Sith to use the Dark Jedi in this manner? If you were a Sith, would you bother with the minutia of trying to control rogue Darksiders in your ranks? Let us know in the comments down below, and as always, my friends, may the Force be with you, and have a great day.